once said that greed is good. We disagree. While some greed is good, excessive greed and unfettered capitalism is extremely harmful to society. We think the problem is that we live in a world today with the greatest income inequality in the history of humanity. In places like the US and Hong Kong, the top 1% of the population earns more income per year than the rest of the 99% combined. We say that the government can no longer afford to be passive over the harms of unfettered capitalism. Therefore, our stance for today is simple. SCGS stands for responsible capitalism and equitable growth. And we are not against people getting rich. Rather, we are against people getting obscenely rich. Specifically, we're not targeting the top 1% of society, but rather the top 0.01% of society. So our policy for today is three-pronged. Firstly, we will cap the maximum income for individuals at approximately $30 million US, which is the average income of the top 0.01% of the United States. This figure will be set and reviewed annually on a case-by-case, country-by-country basis. Secondly, any income above this level will be taxed at 100%, and the revenue will be redistributed to society to be used exclusively to combat social inequality through food programs, work retraining programs, affordable healthcare, and such. And thirdly, our policy includes locals and PRs, but would exclude corporations and foreigners. And seeing as how this is primarily a principal value judgment debate, we hope the opposition doesn't quibble over our policy. So I'll bring to you two main substantives for today. Firstly, on why do this now, and secondly, on how the individual's right to wealth accumulation is not absolute. But before that, yes, sir.
Historically, every economic system trying to possibly constrain private ownership has failed. What makes your reinvention of economics more likely to succeed when it's always failed?
So we don't think ours is going to fail because firstly, we haven't even listed out because I'll be explaining this to you in my two substantives for today. But we think that at the point where society is now, it is extremely necessary to do this now. So that leads me nicely to my first substantive on why now. We think that right now there's a great social urgency to our policy. This is apparent as there's a great accountability deficit in capitalistic systems under the status quo. Reckless capitalistic practices are rewarded with government bailouts with very little government oversight because apparently these venture capitalists and investment bank CEOs work in institutions that are too big to fail. And worse still, countries like the US have policies of regressive taxation, where the poor, with their meager incomes, are taxed at a higher rate of 25% than the 16% income tax rate on the super rich. We think the combined result of this is to increase social acrimony and the resentment felt from the underprivileged towards the privileged at unprecedented levels. We think that if the 99% continue to believe that the economic system is inherently stacked against them, the exodus of public confidence in capitalism itself will not only result in economic catastrophe, but also social anarchy. And there is therefore a pressing government duty and obligation to address such deepening social tensions and acrimony. So the main question we answer is why does the government's obligation extend to a 100% taxation rate above the income cap? And this will be answered by my second substantive on how the individual's right to wealth accumulation is not absolute. Under this, we'll be following three main principles to you. Firstly, the principle of taxation. Secondly, the principle of proportionate labor reward. And thirdly, the principle of fair opportunity. So firstly, the principle of taxation. We think the limits placed on an individual's right to accumulate wealth is not new. Under status quo, individuals in society are obligated to pay taxes that are used to fund societal public goods. Our policy therefore extends on the principle of taxation by levying individual opulence for societal benefit. And while we do respect the individual's right to accumulate wealth to attain his conception of a good life, we have always limited this right when it is necessary to further public policy objectives. So secondly, we think that the principle of proportionality between labor and income should be maintained. Your income should be proportionate to the labor, skills, and expertise that you contribute. In society today, we see this principle being increasingly negated. So let me illustrate this point by comparing three individuals: Joe the plumber, Jack the lawyer, and Joseph the investment bank CEO. So we think it's perfectly proportionate for blue-collar workers like Joe the plumber to earn $36,000 a year for the value they contribute to society. Similarly, even though we know that everybody hates lawyers, we also think it's proportionate for white-collar workers like Jack the lawyer to earn $360,000 a year, or 10 times more than Joe the plumber, because he creates more value to society from the skills, expertise, and education. So we think it's absolutely ludicrous and disproportionate for Joseph, the investment bank CEO, to earn $36 million a year, or 1,000 times more than Joe the plumber, to be seen as being 1,000 times more productive or more hardworking than Joe the plumber. violates the principle of proportionality between labor and reward that is the cornerstone of responsible capitalism. Hence, given the earning capacity of the 0.01% violates the principle of proportionality between labor and reward, we think that it is justifiable for the government to place an income cap. So thirdly, allowing for a class of super rich to exist in society violates the principle of fair opportunity. When the American dream embodied by the top 0.01% becomes so jarring and out of reach to the average layman, it loses its aspirational effect in motivating the rest of society to work hard. People realize that they are never going to get a slice of the pie as long as so much money is being hoarded by so few. We give you the example of while the American middle class has become a mortgage-paying class settled in debt, while individuals like Cheang Ko Lyn, the CEO of global conglomerate Coke Industries, control 95% of the nation's wealth. The middle class is thus clearly deprived of the fair opportunity to reach the pinnacle of capitalism. And we think that under these circumstances, the government is justified in limiting individuals' right to accumulate wealth to counter capitalism. So ladies and gentlemen, greed can be good, but too much greed can severely fracture society. And we must, as a government, do more to stand up to the wolves of Wall Street by taking some from the super rich to substantially benefit the poor and needy. Therefore, we propose.
Move it, Terry.
And we'll wait a few seconds while the judges finish up.
How many secure the end? Oh, great. Okay, wait, let's move. Excuse me, do you mind if I sit here? Yeah, thank you. What? There isn't a choice. Come on, I go monitor.
We thank the first proposition speaker from Singapore Chinese Girls' School for her speech.
We believe in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Populists envy corrupts both our democracy and our economy. This is why we're proud to oppose. Side opposition's policy for today is simple. We reject maximum income, however, we do stand for stronger financial regulation to avoid the irresponsible purchases which caused the 2008 crash. We support higher sales taxes on the rich to ensure the needy are clothed, fed, healed, and educated. This has a strong track record of success in countries like Sweden and Norway, who went to the extent to tax rich people up to 45% and consequently experiencing high social quality. We believe that progressive taxes are superior to maximum income for several reasons. First, progressive taxes enables the poor to access the same opportunities as the rich without specifically dictating the end outcome. They provide the means and incentive to compete without artificially suffocating the potential of the rich. This preserves meritocracy. Secondly, progressive taxes enables the rich to take home more money rather than the income cap. And thirdly, we believe that progressive taxes better espouse the Rorkean principles. We want to harness a degree of inequality, not so soul-crushing as to decimate the human potential of the poor, but sufficient enough to firstly power our taxation systems and to motivate human achievement.
Sir?
No, thank you, ma'am. Finally, the idea that progressive taxes are a positive way of paying one's dues back to society, which is why we totally agree with side proposition's idea that at the end of the day, it is people's duty to give back to society, and we support that reason too. Which is why we believe that a maximum income, however, places a finite cap on human's ambition and achievement, and by confiscating all the money...
Not true, sir.
No, thank you, sir. No, thank you, ma'am. Beyond the cap, the proposition is suggesting that it is wrong to excel, it is wrong to dream to be like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. I'm going to integrate my rebuttals and constructive material into two main points for today. Firstly, I'm going to discuss all the interesting policy, and secondly, on the economic harms of their model. While my second speaker will be speaking about the perverse incentives a maximum income creates. So firstly, the policies. I have a few issues. Firstly, what is the magic number that is just right? Because if they go too low, and instead income too low, they risk hurting the middle and lower income classes. But like they stated, they would want to place an income at about 30 million. But the problem here is, if it's really that high, then the benefits are extremely marginal, as only a small portion will be affected. Secondly, proposition have yet to prove why their policy is necessarily workable. We argue that there's little political will for it, because wealthy individuals will lobby against it, and that is why no country in history to this day has successfully implemented this. No, thank you, ma'am. If they cannot provide believable evidence, this means that the policy will not necessarily pass, and they cannot hope to actualize the principles they stand for. Thirdly, even if their policy didn't work, we argue that proposition will motivate companies to alter their pay structures to maintain the attractiveness of the CEO position. This leads to two outcomes. Firstly, companies will either A, remunerate their CEO through under-the-table means such as stocks and bonds, which are insidiously difficult to regulate and effectively cement the rich-poor gap, or secondly, B, begin to adjust pay scales to pay middle and lower management less, which means that this means that the poor will be much more worse than before. Finally, we believe that this policy is going to hurt foreign direct investment in developing countries, and the maximum income handicaps the will and the ability of entrepreneurs and investors to start new businesses in the developing world, which tends to require large amounts of injection of capital. This means that the third world will have less jobs, and this triples the developmental potential. No thank you, ma'am. So secondly, on to my second substantive about how their policy hurts the economy and cripples the wealth distribution in the long run. Firstly, they came up here and said that they would like to ensure that the wealth distribution will remain. But we disagree, and we feel that their policy will not be successful because we argue that this won't happen because a maximum income will cause people not to work as hard. So this means that why would a person go ahead and take on more responsibility and more stress when the government is not going to compensate them for their efforts, and instead it's going to confiscate all the income past cap anyways. This means that the government won't actually get the taxation revenue that they desire, and wealth will not actually be redistributed. Furthermore, by placing a cap on income, this will severely limit human potential as it reduces motivation to innovate and work hard. Present and future CEOs through their policy will be deterred from taking up high-risk positions.
On the point, sir.
No, thank you, ma'am. Because there is no personal gain to be had from doing more. Because at the end of the day, the reasons why these people take up such stressful positions is because there's something to compensate them, and that is the wealth and the salary.
Precisely, sir.
No, thank you, ma'am. Which is why at the end of the day, they're willing to take that high risk and high responsibility to go ahead. Because at the end of the day, they're aware that they'll be compensated. So we believe that this policy will reduces the motivations of qualified workers to take up key positions. Lastly, this policy also cripples capital-intensive industries that are powered by private investments, such as advanced biotechnology and revolutionary transport systems. This would have meant that the failure of medical breakthroughs, such as artificial hearts, prosthetic limbs, and the MRI, all of which were made accessible because of high demand among investors, were not available, which is why when these were successful through our policy, they later on became cheap and enough for mass consumption. Which is why we believe that at the end of the day, we believe that we should not be limiting a person's ambition, and their side is inevitably punishing the people from trying to excel. Our side actually incentivizes the poor to actually reach those limits, to reach that income of 36 million and earn that amount of money, and to escape from the poverty cycle. Which is why we believe that our side is more better. And also for all these reasons, I'm proud to oppose, as we believe in equal opportunity, but we do not believe in equal outcome. Thank you, Mr. President.
Try.
6 minutes and 10 seconds.
That's not bad. Okay, why don't we stay here? Yeah, I think you can. Just adjust that.